Tonight, Tehran pounded as US and Israeli airstrikes intensify and Iran lashes out across the region. Travellers are stranded with one of the world's busiest air corridors shut down, and we're facing pain at the bowser with the conflict restricting global oil supplies. Good evening and welcome to ABC News Victoria. I'm Tamara, Oudyn. Also tonight, a big wet that arrived in a big hurry, welcomed by some while others are left to mop up. And back on target, Sam Kerr finds the back of the net as the Matildas get the ball rolling. The widening war in the Middle East has spilled into more countries as the US and Israel intensify their assault on Iran. After the stunning confirmation of the Supreme Leader's death, the US claims to have killed nearly 50 other Iranian leaders. President Donald Trump says the fighting in the Gulf could last for weeks and has vowed revenge after the first confirmed American deaths in the war. The impact of the conflict is rippling around the world. Oil prices have jumped and travellers remain stranded with ongoing travel chaos at airports. We'll get the latest from the US shortly, but we'll start in the Middle East tonight with our correspondent Matthew Doran.
Exchanging fire in a widening war. Missiles light up the night sky as Israel and the US intensify their assault on Iran.
Our forces are now striking in the heart of Tehran with increasing intensity, which will grow even stronger in the coming days.
Newly released video from the Israeli military shows the moment the headquarters of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard was destroyed, another blow to the regime following the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. As the US presses its assault, video capturing the moment a fighter jet spirals to the ground over Kuwait. After a second night of strikes, the US and Israel say they hit more than 2,000 targets. A hospital was hit, as well as the offices of the Iranian state broadcaster.
I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death.
Israel has also started attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon after the militant group entered the fray, firing rockets and drones across the border. Residents fleeing into the streets strewn with rubble and debris. As Iran and its proxies come under fire, the regime is lashing out in retaliation, hitting countries across the region. With luxury hotels and apartments coming under fire in Dubai.
No joking, guys, we have just been hit by a drone.
Travellers are stuck in other cities due to airspace closures. At least 9 were killed in an Iranian strike in the Israeli city of Beit Shemesh, and in occupied East Jerusalem a missile hit a highway. Drone vision has revealed the extensive damage caused to a residential area in Tel Aviv on Saturday night, where one woman was killed. Shay Sagi wasn't at home at the time of the attack, seeing the destruction wrought by the shockwave, which destroyed the neighbouring building.
I'm shocked. I didn't imagine even how much damage. It's our house. We moved here 2 months ago after a long time of searching for a perfect apartment.
We are also bringing into this campaign the United States. This combination of forces enables us to do what I have long hoped to do for 40 years, to strike the terror regime decisively.
The Australian government supports that objective despite protests from the United Nations, which says the joint US and Israeli action has violated international law.
While Australia is not directly involved in current military strikes, we've been clear of our utter rejection of the brutal Iranian regime. We are concerned about regional escalation and the protection of civilians.
Ultimately, the legality of these measures is a matter for both the United States and Israel to go through.
Donald Trump says the newly appointed Iranian leadership has already made contact, claiming they want to talk. But just hours later, that insistence was rejected by a senior regime official, flatly stating we will not negotiate with the United States. A deepening conflict with no end in sight.
Matthew Doran joins us now. Matthew, you're near a synagogue that's been hit by Iranian fire outside Jerusalem. What have you seen there?
Tamara, good evening. You can see just how much destruction has been wrought on this building in a residential area of Beit Shemesh. It to show that even though Israelis are being told to seek shelter in underground facilities while this is happening, if it is a direct hit, people stand very little chance, and that is why we have seen 9 people killed, at least 9 people killed at this site, more than 40 injured. We're also seeing many political leaders coming out to sites like this across the country. Naftali Bennett, the Prime Ministerial aspirant, is currently surveying the damage over there. That is to show support for this cause, even though he is an opponent of Benjamin Netanyahu. Politicians are generally united saying attacking Iran is a good thing, even though it's meaning that these retaliations are coming through. What will be important to watch in the next short while is whether any other Iranian proxy groups start to attack Israel. Hezbollah began last night. They were met with a ferocious response. Perhaps the Houthis will also join in. And the ongoing strikes against the Gulf states in this region, how that will affect how they stand in this conflict as well. Tamara.
Matthew Doran in Beit Shemesh, thank you. The US president has announced the first American casualties from the conflict. 3 US service members have been killed in Iran's counter-offensive, and Donald Trump says there'll likely be more.
The US war machine striking Iran's ballistic missile facilities.
We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems.
But Tehran is striking back, killing 3 US troops.
But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against, basically, civilization.
They're the first American deaths in a major offensive that President Trump says could lead to more losses.
He owes it to not only the families of those 3 deceased service members, he needs to make the case when you start a war of choice, why it was so critical.
Britain, France and Germany say they're ready to help stop Iran's attacks. Prime Minister Keir Starmer allowing the US to use British bases for defensive strikes.
We have taken the decision to accept this request to prevent Iran firing missiles across the region, killing innocent civilians.
The killing of the Supreme Leader has further stoked anti-US sentiment, chants of death to America in Iran. And in neighbouring Pakistan, regime supporters attempted to storm the US consulate. At least 22 people were killed in clashes with security forces in Karachi and subsequent conflicts in the country's north. Even some of Trump's own supporters are criticising his so-called Operation Epic Fury.
I don't think this was in America's interest. It's going to uncork a significant can of worms and chaos and destruction.
The United States is far from unified on this issue. One poll showed only 1 in 4 Americans supported strikes against Iran. For Donald Trump, who once promised his America would stop toppling foreign regimes, his decision to strike could be one of the biggest political risks of his presidency.
President Trump!
He does have the support of much of the Iranian diaspora.
USA is the hero of the history!
Hoping for an end to Iran's authoritarian regime. Cayman Gok, ABC News, Washington.
With the Iranian regime fighting for its very survival, the risk of a much larger conflict is only rising. Here's ABC correspondent Ben Knight.
The Iranian regime is facing the biggest threat to its existence since it took power in the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And after decades of mostly Cold War with the US and hot conflicts with Israel, Iran is now facing their combined and overwhelming military force. Iran can't possibly win, but the regime's fighting for survival, and that's how it's responding. With far more aggressive tactics. And whether by design or not, those tactics have the potential to put pressure on Donald Trump to wind up this new and unpopular war. This time, Iran is hitting US military bases and civilian targets in neighbouring countries. It's closing down oil shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, and it's even drawn in the UK, France and Germany. The world, and especially American allies, are feeling the impact of a war they knew nothing about and didn't want, while Americans, who were already unhappy about it, are now seeing US soldiers once again die in a foreign war. The US and Israel are relying on the Iranian people to overthrow their government, but right now there's no sign of that happening. Victory for the Iranian regime might simply mean clinging to power until the shooting stops.
Meantime, thousands remain stranded across the Middle East, and Foreign Minister Penny Wong has ruled out immediate government-run repatriation flights, saying the fastest way home for Australians is on commercial airlines.
Airports across the Middle East still in chaos following thousands of flight cancellations. More than 100,000 Australians remain stranded in the region. Brisbane woman Trina Hockley is one of them.
The luggage, I haven't seen it, don't know where it is, don't know how to get it. I've just got a small backpack and I've got heart medication that will run out in a few days' time.
Hours after the United States and Israel struck Iran, several Middle Eastern countries, including the United Arab Emirates, closed their skies, blocking key air corridors. Back home, travellers are furious.
I've just been told it's going to cost me at least $2,000 to get home because I've got to go via the States. So I've got to buy a new ticket and then hope that Qatar will refund me.
When we got through to this side, there was nobody here. No representative from the airline, which is Qatar. And basically we've been in the airport ever since.
Some countries have signalled plans to repatriate citizens, but the Australian government has not yet committed to that.
We have about 115,000 Australians in the region, so that is a lot of people. The best way to get them home would be for commercial flights to return, because that is at scale.
But aviation experts say it could be weeks before flights to or from the region resume as airlines assess flight path safety.
They may be working with local police and military to secure additional protection and support for a limited number of flights at certain times.
Australians in the war zone are being asked to register their details with DFAT's new crisis portal, and travellers are being asked to reconsider future travel to the area.
Moving forward, if you haven't started your travel yet and you want to reconsider your travel and you have a travel insurance policy, you may be covered under a cancel at any reason clause.
For those still stranded, the more pressing concern is when and how they'll get home. Christy Sexton-McGrath, ABC News.
And Formula One teams and officials are scrambling to get to Melbourne in time for this weekend's Australian Grand Prix. Members of the McLaren and Mercedes teams are stranded in Bahrain, while tyre manufacturer Pirelli was forced to cancel its two-day testing at the circuit. Formula One says it's closely monitoring the situation ahead of upcoming Grand Prix races scheduled in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia in April.
There's some drivers already in Australia. There's some team members already in Australia, but there's a number that are in UK and broadly throughout Europe that need to get here. So they've just had to find another way. And so, yeah, we'll see them all arrive on time.
Australians are being warned the war could lead to petrol prices surging by as much as 30 cents a litre. And if the conflict drags on, experts say it's likely to drive up inflation and push interest rates even higher.
An oil tanker burns in the Strait of Hormuz as Iran lashes out. Roughly 20% of the world's oil flows through here each year, and why any closure could mean more pain at the petrol pump.
So definitely on my mind because I drive a lot, like to and from uni, you know, everywhere.
It's going to like completely throw a spanner in the mix. Like honestly, inflation, it's getting crazy out here.
It's quite opportunistic that Australian companies will put them up.
The Strait of Hormuz is a crucial sea corridor off Iran's south coast. But it's been practically shut down, and if that continues, experts are warning it would send energy prices soaring.
But if we get, $10, $20, $30 increase in the price of oil, petrol prices could potentially go up by 30 cents a litre.
But obviously what happens in the coming days and weeks will be critical. The message to Australian drivers today is this: please do not panic.
A rising oil price can also see the cost of other products increase, like polyester, garbage bags and lipstick. Airfares can take a hit as jet fuel costs rise, and home borrowers can be slugged as inflation pushes the RBA into potentially hiking rates further.
So the combination of high inflation but also resilient consumer spending, for example, would add to the case for the RBA raising rates.
Back at the petrol station, it's another one for the worry list.
It just makes me want to work harder now because I got to get more money to pay for things like interest rates.
A further squeeze on already tight household budgets.
David Taylor, ABC News.
And there'll be more on the Middle East conflict later this hour on 7:30 when Sarah Ferguson interviews the Prime Minister. The rest of the day's news now. And parts of regional Victoria have been hit by widespread flash flooding after heavy rain over the weekend continued into today. Mildura was the hardest hit, with local SES and CFA crews responding to more than 100 call-outs as several major events were cancelled.
When Brett Whitehead heard the heavens open last night, he knew he was in trouble.
The majority of it started coming down at 3 a.m. That's when the water started rising and there's nothing they could do.
There's no water inside his house, but it's everywhere else.
We've had water under the house and around the house, and then through our backyard and down to our sheds.
Day 2 of Mildura's Twilight Nationals event had to be cancelled after a storm ripped apart tents and flooded the drag strip yesterday, as Mildura's streets struggled to cope with triple-figure rainfall totals.
About 7 o'clock I put the blinds up and looked out through the front windows and the water was up our drive.
Shopping for buckets and mops was a tricky proposition in itself, as the local SES was kept busy with more than 100 call-outs.
We don't normally get that sort of rain in Mildura, so it's a little bit unusual and it causes all these flooding problems that we're seeing.
Horsham's 150-kilometre feast looked like it should have been cancelled due to the rain before the community pulled together to save it.
I'd just lost my hope. I'd lost the will to finish getting ready. And so I put this post on Facebook and 60 people turned up.
A dozen pumps weren't enough to save tomorrow's opening day of the Wimmera Field Days, though.
It's a pain in the neck for the field days, but brilliant for farming.
But despite the setback, organisers are still expecting thousands to squish through soggy ground here this week, and they're expecting plenty of smiling faces when the gates open. Smiling faces like Russell Hurds, who says the rain couldn't have come at a better time.
Fantastic start for 2026 because our moisture profile is pretty much non-existent until now.
Heavy clouds with a silver lining. Tamara Clark, ABC News, Horsham.
Pauline Hanson stormed out of the Senate today after she was formally censured for making Islamophobic comments. The coalition refused to support the censure motion, which the One Nation leader labelled a stunt. Here's National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman.
So presume your seat.
A disorderly Senate.
I just got called a bitch by the racist. You happy? They are? I've given myself a slap. This is a joke.
Grappling with forces tearing at Australia's social fabric.
Senator Pauline Hanson is a racist.
I've asked you to withdraw.
I withdraw.
The commotion caused by a motion censuring Pauline Hanson for inflammatory language, suggesting there are no good Muslims.
Condemning an entire religion is not acceptable.
The motion succeeded with the support of 2 Liberal senators, the rest of the coalition critical of the One Nation leader, but refusing to censure her.
My mum's best friend is a Muslim. So I have to say, I think that there are good Muslims in Australia.
There was a time when leaders understood some lines should not be crossed. Now we see a different approach, a race to outflank Senator Hanson to the right.
Slamming her second censure in 6 months.
This is a stunt.
The senators stormed out of the chamber.
We came here just looking for a better life.
As One Nation surges in the polls, the coalition's taking a harder line stance on immigration. Today, ramping up its rhetoric against Australia's so-called ISIS brides and their children.
Well, they are ISIS sympathisers, let's be clear.
The families of foreign fighters stuck in a Syrian refugee camp are seeking to return to Australia in what's become a political hot potato. Angus Taylor is trying to reclaim the voters drifting to One Nation while insisting the coalition is not One Nation light. The government is doing its best to draw the comparison, challenging the new Liberal leader to rule out preference deals with the minor party. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
More than 240,000 Australians speak Punjabi at home, but it's generally not taught in schools. So when most students are switching off for the week, dozens of kids in Geelong gather to learn Punjabi language, dance and culture.
This end-of-year concert looks a little different to those in most Victorian schools. These students, aged from 4 to 16, are performing to a proud community. It starts here, Geelong's Virasati Punjabi School, which opens at 5 p.m. every Friday, when most other students have switched off. For many, Punjabi school is their favourite part of the week.
I'm always happy to come here and see my friends.
They always wait for Friday. Yeah, we came from Friday, what time it is, when we're going to go. They're always happy to come here.
I don't think so. She ever said, no, I don't want to go to Punjabi class. And we never have to push her.
Gurveer Kaur enrolled her 4-year-old son because there were no kinder places available locally.
I'm feeling so happy because my son, I can see the difference, his behaviour, and he's developing social skills.
He's now learning the English and Punjabi alphabet. Other students appreciate being able to communicate with older generations.
I like how they teach Punjabi and how we can communicate with our grandparents because they don't know English.
I could talk to my grandparents more, go around the community, talk to them, relate to them.
The school began in 2021 with 15 students. Now it has 53. It's also an important social opportunity for parents.
After a full week at work, we come here, talk to each other, relax, have a chat, and it's a beautiful thing.
Keeping cultural traditions alive. Jonathan Kendall, ABC News, Geelong.
To finance now, the local share market fell today in line with tumbling markets around Asia, despite surging oil and gas stocks. Here's Alan Kohler.
Well, it was a day of contrast on the share market. Buy oil and gas stocks and retailers, sell banks and tech stocks. Market overall, down just a bit. Now, the key reason, of course, for the ups and downs is war in the Middle East, which caused the oil price to spike when trading opened and then lose half of what it gained and then tentatively rise again as commodity traders try to figure out whether the oil going through the Straits of Hormuz, that is now not going through said straits because shipping companies can't get insurance, can be replaced from other sources. Now, this 100-year chart of the oil price shows that supply shocks always result in price spikes, including the original revolution in Iran, but the biggest price rises happen because of demand, especially from China, and that's not happening this time. The other thing to mention is that it's not just oil going through those straits in the Persian Gulf. A third of the world's fertiliser and methanol does too, almost 20% of the LNG, an eighth of the world's polypropylene or basic plastic, and also it's not just what goes out that matters. The Gulf states rely on food imports coming in. Now, it's only a small percentage of the global seaborne trade in food, but it's almost all of their supplies, and apparently they're only sitting on 4 weeks of supplies. Gold and silver have also got going, as they always do when the going gets tough, and oil is up 5%. Asian markets are down sharply today, and the Aussie dollar dropped at first and then recovered to end up dead flat. Now, on the subject of house prices in February, which were flat in Melbourne and Sydney, still surging in Perth, Brisbane and Adelaide, the national capital city median rose 9.5% in the past 12 months, more than double wages. So housing affordability reached a new record level of terrible. The ratio of house prices to wages is now 3 times what it was when the Prime Minister was born. And that's finance.
To sport now, and the Matildas believe more goals will come as they work their way into the Asian Cup tournament on home soil. The team started its campaign with a scrappy 1-0 win over the Philippines in Perth.
The Matildas arrived in Queensland to prepare for their next game, relieved to have completed their first assignment.
The most important thing is that we got the win and everyone stuck together and it felt like a real together group.
Wheeler's turn.
Australia struck early against the Philippines with Caitlin Ford setting up the captain.
The opening goal of the Women's Asian Cup.
A goal from WA product Sam Kerr was what many in the Perth Stadium crowd of 44,000 had come to see, but other opportunities went begging.
Had to be.
The Matildas thought they'd doubled their lead through Hayley Rasso, but replays showed she was offside.
That's that shoulder breaking the line.
The home team did all the attacking against the world number 41, but had only 6 shots on target against a team it beat 8-0 when they last met.
Fowler has a little bit of space. A yard is often enough.
Can we be better? Yeah, absolutely. But we're getting there.
It's only been 2 days of training with the team, so we just need more time together. It's not the normal lead into a tournament.
On Thursday on the Gold Coast, the Matildas will aim to be more clinical against an Iran team that's trying to focus on football.
I don't want to sort of speak about things that are not in my remit in terms of politics and so on, but I think football is a family. We're supporting the team.
The support for the Matildas will grow if the team can build on its first up win. Duncan Huntsdale, ABC News.
On the eve of the AFL season, the league's boss, Andrew Dillon, is standing by the opening round concept. The season starts with 5 games, 4 of them in New South Wales and Queensland.
If it's Sydney and it's early March, it must be the start of the AFL season. The focus is once again on New South Wales and Queensland.
The Swans, the Giants, the Lions and the Suns have all had membership record rising attendance and record crowds last year.
It all begins on Thursday night when Sydney take on Carlton at the SCG. The two teams have swapped players in the off-season, with spearhead Charlie Curnow heading from the Blues to Sydney.
He's a big presence. He's fit in with the group seamlessly. I'm just in awe watching him in training, the way he moves.
While Ollie Florent and Will Haywood have left the Swans for Carlton.
They're excited. Logan probably knows them pretty well and they're pretty outgoing boys, so they're just so excited to start the season like everyone else.
While the focus is on the north, it hasn't stopped the AFL putting on a game at the MCG between Collingwood and St Kilda.
This is the 3rd year in a row the AFL has staged an opening round highlighting games in the northern states. There are some who say it disrupts the opening of the season, but the AFL boss is adamant that there aren't enough grounds available in the southern states to stage a full round this early in the year.
Just have a bit of a focus early on in the season is really important for the growth of the game up here where, as I said, there's so much opportunity for the AFL.
The other focus for the AFL is the suite of rule changes this season, with concerns raised that new ruck rules could result in more injuries. Dillon concedes if that happens, the AFL will look at the rules.
Look, of course, because one of the things with our rules is that the health and safety of our players is paramount.
As always, the National Rugby League has stolen a start with its 2 matches in Las Vegas last weekend.
It's a good way for them to start their season. We do things differently.
And it's been that way for almost 120 years. David Mark, ABC News, Sydney.
Time for the weather now. Here's Adam Morgan.
Good evening, Tam. As we saw earlier, some much-needed good news right now with our weekend deluge across northern Victoria. Around 20 spots through the Wimmera and Mallee broke all-time daily rainfall records for February or March over the weekend. Horsham copped 60 millimetres in just an hour on Friday with an intense thunderstorm, and that 149 in 2 days at Mildura was just 10 millimetres short of last year's entire rainfall there. Indeed, for much of the north, it's been months of rain in the past week. Sadly, the southwest missed out largely again, the Great Dividing Range largely blocking the heavier falls from extending further south. That's been the case here in Melbourne too. So as steady rain pushed into northeast Victoria overnight, and today was mostly just light rain or drizzle for the metro area. Most spots picked up 6 or 7 millimetres overnight, with just a further 1 or 2 more from today's drizzly conditions. Now, with all that tropical humidity, temperatures remained almost steady today. From a low of 20 overnight, the city only rose to 22.5. It's been the same story statewide. Muggy and warm overnight, followed by a cool to mild day in the low to mid-20s. Our rain is thanks to last week's tropical low over central Australia. It's decaying today over southern New South Wales, but the monsoon remains very active up across the top end. Now, the trough will slowly clear east tomorrow into Wednesday. We return to southerly winds with that next high in the bite. Tropical humidity is gradually on the way out now, with some drier autumn days to follow. Tomorrow, rain for Canberra and showers in Sydney, but across in Perth, it is hot and sunny days all week long. Back home, rain over eastern Victoria eases to showers tomorrow. That'll gradually contract in towards Gippsland. Western Victoria is dry and partly cloudy. It's less humid as well in light to moderate southerly winds. Hamilton 22, Horsham 25. It's still mostly cloudy up in the Mallee. Remaining muggy in the east though, where only the far northeast corner remains in the severe weather warning area. There's the chance of an afternoon thunderstorm there tomorrow afternoon with possibly heavy rain. Here in Melbourne, drizzle at times tonight, then possibly again tomorrow, but we should be drying up into the afternoon. Mostly grey skies with some afternoon sunny breaks, hopefully. A mild 20 degrees, but not quite as humid as today. Wednesday is mostly cloudy. The slight chance of a light shower, 20 degrees. Then it is those settled autumn days. Thursday, cloud clearing and 26. Friday, just the slight chance of a light shower, but otherwise it's partly cloudy, light to moderate southerlies and mid-20 days all the way through the outlook, Tam.
Thanks for that, Adam. That's it for this evening's bulletin. Do stay with us now, though, for 7:30 with Sarah Ferguson. Good night.